These are the worst genetic disorders explained, from tiny DNA glitches that flip your whole body system to conditions that rewrite how life is lived every single day. Let's dive right in.
Hemophilia. Red blood cells are always ready to act whenever you get a cut or scrape. The most essential part of this function is the clotting factors responsible for stopping the bleeding and helping the wounds heal. Unfortunately, for people dealing with hemophilia, that isn't exactly the case. Hemophilia is a genetic condition where the body doesn't produce enough clotting factors. So when a person with hemophilia gets a cut, those crucial clotting factors are in short supply, leading to prolonged bleeding, like when a faucet doesn't stop dripping no matter what you do. On top of that, people with hemophilia are prone to easy bruising and might even experience internal bleeding, which can be painful and cause swelling. Hemophilia is passed down through genes and tends to affect more males because of its connection to the X chromosome. While women can carry the gene, they usually don't show symptoms. While there's no cure for hemophilia, treatments like clotting factor injections can help manage the condition.
Kind of wild that one tiny missing protein can flip your body's emergency repair crew into total chaos mode. Hemophilia basically turns paper cuts into boss battles, and the genetic twist is even harsher. Guys get the short end thanks to the X chromosome. Treatments exist, but it's like having to hire substitute workers for life.
Down syndrome. Each cell in our body has instruction manuals called chromosomes, which are made up of DNA. Our DNA holds all the essential information for our bodies to grow, develop, and function properly. Usually, we have 46 chromosomes in each cell, with half coming from mom and the other half from dad. But in Down syndrome, something interesting happens. There's an extra copy of chromosome 21, which means the body has 3 of those chromosomes instead of the usual 2. This mix-up occurs during cell division in a baby still growing in the womb. Surprisingly, it affects about 1 out of 800 babies worldwide, so it's not as rare as you think. People with Down syndrome now have distinctive features, like almond-shaped eyes, shorter stature, and flatter faces. Their brains also develop differently, leading to thinking, reasoning, and understanding challenges. These folks might need extra support from family and friends, but they can still lead fulfilling lives. They can enjoy hobbies, go to school, and even have jobs.
Here's the cool twist. Studies show people with Down syndrome actually tend to have higher baseline levels of the so-called happiness hormones, like serotonin. So while their DNA packed an extra manual by accident, it also seems to come with bonus resilience and joy, basically nature's secret cheat code for optimism.
Prader-Willi syndrome. The hypothalamus keeps things in check, like making sure we're not too hungry, thirsty, or hot, and even helping us get some sleep. But when it comes to Prader-Willi syndrome, or PWS for short, it's like the hypothalamus gets confused. People with PWS often start with weak muscles, especially when they're babies. This can slow down their motor skills, like learning to walk or sit up. But that's not all that happens. This condition messes with the signals telling us when we're hungry or full. These guys have the munchies 24/7. They're always hungry, which sadly leads to them eating way too much and struggling with obesity. On top of that, folks dealing with PWS might face challenges with learning and thinking. They might also have trouble with their behavior, like being stubborn or having big tantrums. There's no fix for PWS, but one of the best ways to handle it is to keep the person active and their weight in check. Sometimes they might need some extra help with growth hormones to tackle the physical and developmental issues they face. Huntington's disease. The DNA tells your body how to function correctly, like a recipe book. But imagine if there's a typo in that recipe, like in Huntington's disease. That tiny defect in your DNA messes things up, especially in your brain, causing severe long-term issues. The Huntington's gene is inherited from parents who have it. It creates a protein that starts wrecking specific nerve cells in your brain. This can lead to all sorts of movement problems and uncontrollable motions. Sometimes it even messes with your thinking and emotions. What's tricky about Huntington's is that it tends to pop up in your 30s or 40s, though it can strike earlier too. The twist is that you might go on for 3 or 4 decades thinking everything's okay before the symptoms start showing. Unfortunately, there's no cure or way to slow down Huntington's disease. It's like a downhill slide that only gets worse over time. Some drugs can help manage those funky movements it causes, so there's a bit of hope there at least.
Prader-Willi is basically the body's hunger alarm stuck on infinite snooze mode. The hypothalamus never quite gets the memo that the fridge is closed. That's why families often lock pantries. Meanwhile, Huntington's is the tragic opposite, a genetic typo that hides for decades before suddenly turning brain cells into collateral damage. One disorder overeats, the other overruns.
Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The body is similar to a sturdy house made of bricks. Each brick represents a muscle fiber, and the glue holding it all together is this protein called dystrophin, the mortar that keeps everything strong and protected when your muscles move or flex. But a genetic disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, or DMD, causes problems in dystrophin production, weakening those bricks and leaving your muscles vulnerable. So instead of a solid foundation, it becomes a crumbling structure. Kids usually start showing signs of DMD around ages 3 to 5. They struggle with everyday activities like walking, climbing stairs, or getting up from the floor. It's like their muscles are misbehaving and not cooperating properly. And it's not just about the physical stuff. Since breathing involves muscles too, DMD can lead to severe issues like heart failure and trouble breathing. By the time they hit their early teens, some kids might need a wheelchair to get around, and sadly, their lifespans are often shorter because of heart and lung problems. Thalassemia. Our blood cells are the couriers of oxygen throughout the body. They do this thanks to a protein called hemoglobin, which has iron and acts as a magnet for oxygen molecules. But thalassemia messes with this whole process, making it challenging for those red blood cells to do their job efficiently. When someone has thalassemia, their body struggles to produce enough hemoglobin. This means certain parts of their body don't get the oxygen they need because their red blood cells lack hemoglobin. Consequently, not having enough healthy red blood cells leads to anemia. It can leave you feeling tired all the time, weak, and looking a bit pale. Thalassemia tends to stick around in families and can get passed down through the generations. There's no cure for this genetic defect, but stem cell or bone marrow transplants have shown promise as a cure. In the meantime, blood transfusions are a key way to keep symptoms in check by replacing those healthy red blood cells.
That's just crazy. DMD is like building a house without mortar. The bricks just don't hold, so every muscle movement chips away at the structure. It's brutal that it shows up so young. Femia, on the other hand, is more of a low battery mode disease. Without hemoglobin's oxygen taxi service, the whole body runs sluggish until medicine literally swaps in fresh red blood delivery vans.
Turner syndrome. Most women are supposed to have 2 X chromosomes, but in Turner syndrome, one of those X chromosomes is either missing or partly missing, leaving the other X chromosome alone. This condition can lead to challenges for women suffering from it. They might end up shorter than usual, struggle with fertility, or hit puberty and breast development milestones later than expected. Some even have a webbed neck or abnormal bone growth. And let's not forget about the potential health issues like heart problems or hearing difficulties. There are treatments to make life a bit smoother. Stuff like growth hormone therapy or hormone replacement therapy can help with physical development and keep those health problems in check. Fragile X syndrome. The body's genes tell our bodies how to work. A gene called FMR1 is essential for our brain to function smoothly, but in folks dealing with Fragile X syndrome, this gene doesn't work correctly. It's like it got stuck on repeat, playing the same sequence repeatedly. This glitch makes the gene fragile, messing up its job of producing a crucial protein for the brain. Things can become problematic when the brain doesn't work as it should. We're talking about challenges with learning, thinking, and even speaking. Socializing becomes a bit of a puzzle, and staying focused can feel like trying to catch a slippery fish. Fragile X syndrome can also throw in some physical quirks, like a face that's a bit longer than usual and joints that seem extra bendy. Plus, it might come with anxiety problems. There's no way to cure Fragile X syndrome, but there are ways to make life a bit easier. Early interventions like speech therapy and occupational therapy can lend a hand, especially for kids dealing with this disorder.
Fragile X is the most common inherited cause of intellectual disability, yet it hides behind that tiny FMR1 gene acting like a DJ stuck on the same track forever. Fun fact, boys usually get hit harder because they've only got one X to begin with, no backup copy. It's like running your entire brain on beta software, but without the patch notes.
Marfan syndrome. The that holds everything together. This leads to a genetic condition called Marfan syndrome. When someone has Marfan syndrome, their connective tissue isn't as strong as it should be. This can result in some distinctive traits like being super tall with long limbs and fingers and having more flexible joints than the average person. But it's not just about looks. Marfan syndrome can also mess with your eyes and heart. causing some serious health issues. Having Marfan syndrome doesn't mean your life is doomed. Take Peter Mayhew, the guy who wore the Chewbacca suit in Star Wars. He had Marfan syndrome and still lived a good life. Even Abraham Lincoln might have had it, judging by some physical traits he shared with people with the syndrome.
Marfan syndrome basically turns you into human Stretch Armstrong, long limbs, tall frame, bendy joints, but the trade-off is fragile connective tissue that can mess with the heart and eyes. Fun fact, Chewbacca's actor Peter Mayhew had it, and some historians think Lincoln did too. Imagine Honest Abe dunking in the NBA before signing the Emancipation Proclamation.
Williams syndrome. The chromosomes in our cells are the carriers of our genes. One in particular, chromosome 7, plays a significant role in how our bodies develop, keep our immune system in check, and manage our metabolism. With it doing its job correctly, we might avoid some challenges. However, Williams syndrome can cause issues with this system. It's a genetic disorder caused by a partial deletion of specific chromosome 7 genes, up to about 28. For instance, people with Williams syndrome might have distinct physical features, like a broad forehead, a short and flat nose, and full lips and cheeks. But they tend to be super friendly and outgoing, often the life of the party. Plus, they've got a knack for music and language skills that can impress. They might need help with numbers and coordination, but make up for it with the joy and talent they bring.
It's kind of nice. Williams syndrome is like nature's way of turning someone into a walking serotonin beam. People with it are famously outgoing, almost Disney princess levels of friendly. Fun fact, they often have perfect pitch or a strong musical ear, but math, not their best friend. It's like trading algebra for karaoke stardom, arguably the better deal at parties.
Cystic fibrosis. Your body produces mucus to keep your lungs and gut running smoothly. When someone has cystic fibrosis, or CF, a gene that's supposed to handle that mucus job is faulty. The mucus gets thick and sticky instead of smooth and runny, more like glue than anything helpful. Try sucking a thick milkshake through a straw. That's what dealing with CF feels like. People with CF often find themselves coughing a lot and constantly out of breath, which makes it challenging to do anything that needs your lungs to be in top form. They might also have digestive troubles, especially when gaining weight, because their bodies don't absorb nutrients right. CF is manageable. Some treatments help ease the symptoms and improve quality of life. You can still play sports and do things that get your heart pumping, but it's best to steer clear of water sports or activities way up high, like scuba diving or skydiving. Sickle cell anemia. Typically, our red blood cells are flexible and donut-shaped. They carry oxygen around our bodies through the bloodstream without a hitch. But when someone has sickle cell anemia, their red blood cells become rebels and take on a sickle shape instead of staying round. This happens when someone gets two faulty hemoglobin genes, one from each parent. Now, these odd-shaped blood cells can be troublemakers. They can clog up our blood vessels, causing all sorts of blockages. When that goes down, different parts of our body miss out on the oxygen they need, leaving us feeling tired, weak, and in pain most of the time. Furthermore, sickle cells don't last as long as healthy ones. Our bodies struggle to replace them, leading to anemia because we lack red blood cells. Sickle cell anemia is all about genetics. This means if a parent has it, there's a chance they could pass it on to their kids. It's more common among black folks, and scientists think it's because their genes have evolved to fend off malaria, an infection spread by mosquito bites that are pretty common in Africa.
Cystic fibrosis and sickle cell anemia almost feel like opposite design flaws. One makes mucus too thick, the other makes blood cells the wrong shape. Yet both prove how tiny genetic tweaks can flip life upside down. Fun twist, that sickle cell mutation, while painful, actually gave protection against malaria. A brutal trade-off coded into human survival history. Honestly, the analyst did an amazing job with this video, so if you want to see the full breakdown, the link is in the description. And next time, let's just say we're diving into something very different, but equally mind-bending. Stay nerdy.